Sam!
Hey, John. How's it going?
Oh, I'm good. How are you? How are you?
I'm doing well.
Oh,
Here
jeez.
we
This isn't the
are
room we've been in
in
prior
different
to now.
states. Yep. Uh,
Jeez.
I mean, last week we didn't even do an episode because we were both moving, right?
hmm
But now we're
Yeah, I didn't
back.
even know where my book was until today.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea what box it was in.
So
I looked at it was
I
the
guess
last
that
box I looked in.
last night when you were like, "Oh, I'll do that reading tonight," that was just a lie.
Well, I thought I looked through all the boxes, and it was literally in the one box I didn't look in that I thought I had looked in. So I thought it vanished into the ether, but now I have it, but I don't need it anymore. You know why? Because we're done with it. Get
We're
out of
done with
here.
it.
I didn't.
This is the last episode for this book. Um,
Yep, we did it.
So, I mean, dude, let's just talk about... You know, honestly, actually, let me start by saying that after the end of part 4, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
part 5 is going to be a relaxing wind down, and it's actually
Yeah.
it's actually going to be a little bit disappointing, I suspect, after how baller the
Right,
end of
I
part
had the
4 was.
same kind of feeling.
Those
yeah.
were my expectations, and they were shattered.
Mhm.
They were smashed.
Yeah.
Like throughout the I
Yeah.
swear my notes on this chapter have by far the most profanity out of any notes I've taken. Like it was just like what
Yeah.
what no, like and I swear
Yeah,
like
well,
I've,
that's
I've read these books. I should have remembered this stuff. But,
you're right. That was
yeah.
the thing, because when I was telling you how long I was gonna be, I was like, oh yeah, I'll just breeze through this section real fast, and I was like, oh no, there's so many notes I have to take, so many more secrets are being unveiled to my eyes.
Yeah, some of this stuff was so wild.
Just
I'm happy that we've started to get a glimpse into how crazy Taravangian is.
yeah.
Because this is something that I've known and had to keep bottled up inside me
I know.
for a very
I
long
have
time.
like in those notes, I'm like, Sam was manipulating me, but he kind of had to.
Well, I wanted
Not
to talk about the
manipulating, but-
character without like revealing stuff.
Right.
I was like, throughout all of this, I've been trying to talk as if I was reading this for the first time. You know? That's
No,
been my
and I think
goal.
you've done a pretty good job of that,
Yeah.
as far as I can tell.
I
I mean, you seem to discuss with the information that I would have, so.
Yeah,
It
and
makes
I'm
sense.
sure I'm being imperfect about it, and I'm putting in, I'm like
Little
more focused on
breadcrumbs.
stuff that I know will come up later or stuff like
Sure,
that.
sure.
But I'm doing my best here.
Yeah, you know where to look for things or whatever.
Yep. All right, so starting this
Yeah.
one off, there were no interludes. There were no little like pre-chapter blurbs, whether they be Yesna's notes or death rattles or what have you.
Yeah. Ain't got no
Um,
time for that.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know if we should even do a big summary for this because it was kind of all over the place. I think maybe we just get right into discussing stuff.
Sure.
All right, so
Yeah, we'll probably anyway, so.
I missed that Yesna ate the bread but wasn't poisoned. Like that didn't register with me back when we read that chapter.
Yeah, when that happened, it made sense to me, but I was like, oh, she just like ate the jam or something. Like I just assumed that she, like the poison didn't act on her as fast or something.
Sure. Like and the thing is, going into this, I knew that the bread was poisoned and the jam was an antidote, right? So you'd think that I would notice Yesna eating the bread and then not being affected, right? But no, it just went right past me. It turns out that just like Shallan, right? I theorized back when she turned that chalice to blood that she could soul cast without a fabrial.
Right.
And it turns out Yesna can do that as well. And this brought me back to, remember that conversation when Shallan was trying to figure out how to use the fabrial? She was asking Capsule about like how they work. And he was telling her like, well, actually, it's very simple. And we were like, this idiot. That's not how Yesna uses hers, right?
Right, yeah.
It turns out he was probably right about
how
it.
it's worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just turns out that Yesna is a bit of an exception.
It's funny that, you brought that up way back when, because, my note here was, Yasna can soulcast without a soulcaster. Sam left me this breadcrumb. I'm a fool.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
But,
I was trying to guide you to like guess that yourself.
Yeah, well, and like it kind of made sense when you mentioned it, but I was like, I know so little about soulcasting in the first place. But it all comes out in the wash.
Also, when Shallan went to like confront Yesna, and Shallan was just like laying down facts, like that was very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh damn, Shallan is an idiot, but she's also very smart.
Yeah, and like I don't know, like in the past, it's always been Shallan's just very I don't know. She wonders. She wonders if like what she's doing is right. She questions herself, right?
Right.
So like in this scene, just her being like, "Why am I doing this? This seems really out of character for me." Oh well, and then she just went off on Yesna. Like I liked it a lot.
Yeah, that was the first time Yesna like is caught off guard and she doesn't know what to do, which is like never happened. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And then Shallan decides to go back to Shadesmar just to prove to Yesna that she can. Right?
Oh yeah, that she can. And then he's like, "You got to tell me a truth," and she's like, "Yasna isn't using the Fabrial to soulcast." He's like, "You could do better than that." She's like, "I killed my father." You're like, "Well, wait, hold on," and then like that was just a passing detail to get into the Marbleverse.
So we already knew that Shallan had some big dark thing in her past, and I think we had even already theorized that she killed somebody, right? Hadn't we talked about that? And
yeah, we did.
And we knew. Oh, and we did talk about it for sure because we said that she must have killed someone who was a shard bearer because now she's one, right?
Right.
So we wonder, was her father a shard bearer?
Yeah,
he was a wealthy Light Eyes, right?
Yeah.
He was. It would
just kind of make sense.
He was maybe going to become the king of Yakoved, right? Wasn't that a thing?
Yeah, he was being like kind of groomed for it by those people that gave him the Soulcaster.
Yeah. So maybe he just had. Maybe that just had that. I don't know. Yeah. Either way, also Yasna is like super OP in Shadesmar. She can do a bunch of stuff that Shallan can't.
Yeah.
So
just turn beads into a raft. Yeah. Kick her out of the Marbleverse.
Also, I have to wonder, like, does Shallan have to tell some deep, dark secret about herself every time she wants to soulcast?
Oh, right. I'm like, how does Yasna have so many?
Yeah. Is Shallan just... She's going to run out, right? Like, eventually...
Right, yeah.
What are you going to say? Like, I farted and pretended it was someone else, you know? Like,
right, yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was like, does Yasna, every time she goes in, she's like, I had a bran muffin for breakfast, and Shadesmar I was like, all right, come on in.
Yeah. I feel like you can only have so many deep, dark secrets. But...
right, yeah.
Also, Shallan promised to never lie to Yesna, but also to never steal from anyone again. Yeah. And it makes me wonder, is that going to be, like, a thing?
Is that going to be a problem?
Yeah. Is she, like, bound to never steal for some reason? Probably not.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know, you see this, I mean, it's not a trope exactly, but, like, this whole, you know, somebody wrongs somebody, but they see their potential, and they're like, okay, never do that to me again, I'm taking you on as my second, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I watched a YouTube video, not a couple days ago, where, like, a similar thing, like, a similar story arc happened, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it makes sense, I guess. Like,
I always think that's kind of cheesy. You know, in media, where sometimes, every once in a while, there will be a character who's like, no one kills you but me, you know? And then they end up being the one who kills them eventually, or something like that. Why? Like, it's not... You don't just will that stuff into exist. You don't just say something and then it's true, right? Right. Sometimes they do it well. Like, there are some movies where, like... I don't know, somebody goes on a monologue at the beginning. Like in Shaun of the Dead, I think this happened. Or no, it was, oh my god. I cannot remember the name. Hot Fuzz.
Okay.
Or was it Shaun of the Dead? Oh my god. I don't know. There was a movie
I don't know if
where
I've
at the
seen
beginning,
either of those, but...
One of the characters, like, lists out just his to-do list for the day, and it actually ends up being an outline for the film overall as well. You know?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So there's little stuff like that, where a character says something is going to happen, and then it does, and I like it. But sometimes a character says something's going to happen, and there's really just no reason why it should. You know?
Sure.
I don't know. So like, it makes me wonder: is this like Shallan saying she'll never lie again thing, something that we're going to kind of forget about, but it ends up actually being, or that she'll never steal, right? Something that we kind of forget about, but then you end up looking through the entire series. It turns out she actually never steals again, or something like that, right?
Sure, it's just like a fun little thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know how with comedy the whole thing is you gotta like subvert expectation.
Yeah.
I really like when in like media, but mostly I don't know, just any like storytelling where they subvert like a trope, you know?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, it's like this classic thing I've seen a bunch of times. It's the Cinderella story arc or whatever, and then they like mess with it somehow. That's really fun.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it'll be like that, but who knows?
Who knows? All right. Szeth is in Kharbranth. Same place as Yesna. Same place as Shallan. Same place as Taravangian.
Yep. And he's the last target.
Here I have the note. Like, my God, he's gone through the entire list. Szeth killed all those people.
Yeah.
Holy moly! Didn't
And
it
the very
include?
first
It
thing.
included Alethi High Princes, didn't it? Why didn't we hear about that?
Yeah, I think it did, but I guess they weren't, important ones. I don't
I
know.
feel like they're all. Maybe there are more Alethi High Princes than the ones on the Shattered Plains. Maybe there are more back
Oh, yeah.
home or something that we don't know about. I don't know.
No.
Um,
Yeah, there was some Alethi important people on them,
maybe
I
maybe
thought.
they weren't High Princes. Maybe they were just important Alethi people.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, it could be.
And I say rest in peace Teravangian because Zeth is
Yep,
there,
same.
to cross off last person on this list.
Yep,
I
yep.
say, my God, does Zeth treat every assassination like Mission Impossible? Because he's like taking off clothes and he has other uniforms on underneath and all this stuff. And then I
Right, yeah.
realize, oh wait, no, probably not, because normally he's supposed to make a racket, right? He's not supposed to be covert.
Yeah, this was the only one ordered to be, like, discreet or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was very Mission Impossible where he, like, uses the laser on the glass above the thing in the museum he has to steal, and
Yes.
he lowers himself down on the rope or
Well,
whatever.
yeah, and he set the stone he was standing on, right? He cut it out of the floor, bound it so that it had no weight, right? Stood on top of it and reduced his weight to 1/10. So he was just falling on the stone like super slow motion.
Right.
Like I imagined it being like very Mission Impossible.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
And then he rips off his first disguise and he has a second disguise underneath.
Yeah, the Master Servant uniform, super cool.
That was very, very Mission Impossible-esque.
Yeah. And he busts into Teravangian's room, and Teravangian is sitting there and just being like this cold, hard, smart man.
Yeah, he's just like meditating, and he's like, I knew you would come, and he spins around and he's petting his cat,
Yeah, and like, good word. I write down, like, is Teravangian just a different character in every scene? Right?
Yeah, he kind of
like
is.
It feels like in no two scenes we've seen him in if I describe Teravangian in every scene so far to a person without using a name, they would think I was talking about three different characters, right?
Yeah, well, and it's like, because the first time we talked about him, we're like, oh, he's the dopey sultan from Aladdin.
Yeah.
And then the second time we're like, oh, he's more wise than that. He's kind of hard to read or whatever. And then even Seth, when he's coming, he's like, Teravangian, he's too good-natured. He's not going to have enough forces to stop me. Damn him, I'm going to have to kill him anyway.
Yeah.
And then he busts in, and Teravangian turns around, and Seth is like, oh, no, this guy is wise as heck. I can tell just by looking at him.
You can see it in his eyes, and he is just now a totally, like, evil supervillain sort of guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I imagine if this were a movie, this character would be really hard to play, Teravangian.
Yes. That would be such a cool role, though. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it would, yeah.
Yeah, so apparently Teravangian has been the one orchestrating all of the assassinations. He has Zeth's Oathstone.
Yeah.
And I just type in all caps, like, who is Teravangian? What?
Yeah.
And it seemed, and now he takes Zeth into his big, like, secret second hospital area. And he brings.
Where he's just bleeding people out slowly, and he's like, "Yeah, I mean, we're not collecting their blood. This is just an easy way to kill them slowly." And Seth is like, "What? Why?" And then it turns out because the people, as they're dying, start to spout some death rattles, and then people record them really quick.
Yep, all the death rattles we've been receiving at the beginning of chapters have been collected in Teravangian's facility here. And that's just pretty
truly
whack.
horrifying.
That is pretty whack.
Yeah. And he's like, I mean, I am taking people that are, already sick or whatever, but we need a lot of these death rattles. We gotta pick up the people society's forgotten.
Yeah, and there's a line about how he seems sorrowful, he seems regretful, he talks about how he's held the knife and bled these people himself, He knows he's a monster, but if it takes a monster to save the world, he'll be that monster, And it's like, what
Seth calls him a monster, he's like, I know.
Like, it seems like he truly believes that his motives are pure. Like, he is, like, genuinely somehow saving the world by doing this stuff, by having all these people assassinated, by killing all these people in his secret death rattle hospital.
Right, and he was like, Seth even asks, he's like, why don't you, like, know a bunch of these people? Weren't these people your friends? He's like, oh yeah, a bunch of them are my friends, but that's a sacrifice I gotta make. And he's like, Seth is like, why? And he's like, stability, can't have the world ruining itself when it's already gonna end. I just gotta make sure everything stays the same while I figure this stuff out.
Yeah, sometimes you have to knock down the walls to build stronger ones in their place, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Holy
exactly.
moly, yeah. So Teravangian is just like totally insane. And at the end of this chapter, he tells Zeth, that he has another task for him.
Uh-huh.
He has to go kill Dalinar Kholin.
Yeah, but
Dalinar, who just gave up his Shardblade, not like
what a bad
man.
time. Yeah,
that's really bad.
And the
timing.
craziest part is he says that he has to make sure that it's done quickly and brutally, and it has to be done before Dalinar can unite the Alethi High Princes. So somehow Taravangian knows that that's what he has to do, even though like Dalinar doesn't know that. Like, he knows he has to do that, but he doesn't know why. Like, how does Taravangian know that this is a thing he's trying to do? Why does he not want him to do it?
Yeah, Taravangian's whack. And it raises the question. Well, it makes it seem like, at one point, Dalinar maybe wasn't going to rise to power, wasn't going to unite the High Princes, and then he could live, right? This is really specifically to prevent the Alethi from becoming, like, one cohesive piece of, power in the world.
Sure. Yeah, I suppose so.
Yesna reveals that the symbol faces that Shallan keeps seeing in her drawings are Spren.
Yeah.
What kind of Spren? Dunno.
Who knows? Yeah.
Also, Yesna reveals that there were 2 orders of Knights Radiant who could inherently soulcast.
Without Fabrials, yeah.
And my guess is that just how Syl is giving Kaladin his powers, one of these symbol faces is probably giving Shallan her powers.
Right. And it seems like the Spren are all sources of the Radiance, whatever. Are they all like honor Spren, or are they all different Spren of the different essences or whatever?
But it makes me wonder, we've never heard anything about Szeth having a Spren, right? That's never come up. Then again, we do always hear stuff about Szeth hearing screams, so maybe his Spren is just real screamy. Sure. Maybe it's just a screamy Spren.
Right. Yeah, the old Scream Spren, my favorite.
Also, because Yesna stated that there are 2 orders of Knights Radiant who could inherently soulcast, my guess is that Shallan represents or is going to end up being part of one of them and saying their words, and Yesna's probably the other path.
Sure.
And my guess is that by the end of this, we're going to have one main character who represents
each order
of the orders, right?
How many orders are there? Do we know?
10. 10 is the number for this book. 10 Alethi High Princes, 10 Heralds, 10 Orders,
10 books.
10 books, yeah.
I liked the part where this is just like a weird commentary on Yesna's being a heretic thing, She says religion tries to give supernatural reasons to natural events or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And she tries to do the opposite, where she finds natural reasons that supernatural things, quote unquote, happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, I dig that. That makes sense.
Yeah, she was saying, religion and science are two faces of a card or 2 sides of a coin or whatever. I don't remember.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was a card, but yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, that's kind of neat. Makes me wonder, is Brandon Sanderson pretty atheist? I wonder.
Well, and I've talked about this with our friend Lucas, who also likes Brandon Sanderson. He always brings up religion in some way in his books, like in Mistborn with Sazed, his whole conflict with religion, and I'm like, what? Yeah, what is his opinion? Because I'm pretty sure I want to say he's like a Mormon. I feel like I've heard that somewhere.
Oh, really?
I don't know if that's true. I just feel like I heard that at some point. But
well, I mean, hey, I'm sitting at a computer. Let me.
Interesting.
Brandon Sanderson religion. He's a Mormon.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is that's really interesting. I mean, I don't know
he's
that
a practicing
Mormon.
Mormon. He spent 2 years in Korea as a missionary. Wow.
Yeah, because every Mormon, they go on a mission.
They go on a mission, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Dang.
Yeah. But yeah, because he, I don't know, that's the thing I've heard about, and I don't know, all of this stuff I'm about to say is not trustworthy at all, but, there have been some, attempted, whether or not they're true, explanations for things that have happened in the Bible, they're there's this rift of Earth in the Red Sea that makes it part sometimes, or something,
Oh,
there's
okay.
There was some miraculous event where some saint made the sun move or something, and they were like, yeah, that was a weird, celestial event that happens every couple of years or something. And so I'm like, I wonder if that's a thing. I don't know, it's just kind of an interesting point.
Yeah.
I like how I'm like, here's a point, let me tell you a bunch of stuff that I've not fact-checked and I don't know anything about,
Yeah.
and we'll just discuss that. But yeah. Anyway.
When Shallan was going through Yesna's notes on the Voidbringers, there was one note about there being music when they kill. I swear that has not been set up to the.
Not once.
I'm
no.
positive I would have noticed this because everything
I singled
else
out
up to
that
this
single
point,
sentence too.
everything else up to this point, it's like, oh, their skin is red and black, and their eyes are voids, and all this, right? And it's like, okay, this is all stuff that kind of sounds like it's talking about the Parchment or the Parshendi. But a part of me thinks that it's trying to mislead us to thinking they're the Voidbringers when actually it's something else. But now this music line comes up, and I'm like, oh, they're the Voidbringers.
Surefire.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, Parshendi or Voidbringers. Okay.
And then moments later, Yesna's like, it's the Parchment. We enslaved them because you don't kill something that can be useful to you or whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
And I'm like, okay.
So now the Parchment are like totally integrated into all parts of not just like Alethi, but like human society on Roshar.
Yeah.
Right. They're in every village. They care for the children. They make the food. And the theory is that when the next Desolation rolls around, they're all suddenly going to become aggressive, murderous,
they're going to rise up.
Monsters, yeah.
And so Yesna's like, what's the difference between Parchment and Parshendi, you know? Are they just going to... Are all the Parchment going to up and turn into Parshendi and attack us someday? Who knows?
Yeah, so they think that... the secret lies on the Shattered Plains, and Shallan and Yesna are heading on over there, and that's pretty hype. We're getting all of our main characters. Zeth is going to the Shattered Plains now. Shallan and Yesna are going to the Shattered Plains. We're getting them all together. Yeah, you know, Dalinar and Kaladin finally met, which was just I was waiting for that for the whole book. I wanted that so bad.
Yeah.
So
I was pretty sure
fun.
You were talking to somebody about the book when you first read it, and I don't think it was me, but I think I was there, and you mentioned that two of the main characters just happened to meet up, and it was super hype, and I was like, was that Kaladin and Dalinar, or were you on a different book? But I remember you saying that, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is the moment.
I like it when the main characters meet up. What can I say?
Yeah. Especially when it's all divergent, viewpoints, you know, it's all gonna come to a head at some point.
Alright, so it turns out that Syl hates shard blades. She doesn't know why, but she does.
Yep. Yeah, doesn't like them. They must not be honorable because she's an honor friend.
Dalinar and Kaladin had the most like earnest, ridiculous conversation of all time, right? Dalinar goes up. They have their like sunset meeting, you know. Dalinar ends up giving him the cloak. He asks him and Bridgefort end up being Dalinar's like honor guard, you know.
Right, his bodyguards, yeah.
And Dalinar gives Kaladin this whole spiel about how he is about to turn all of the High Princes against them, and they're going to be armies and shard bearers and assassins all potentially trying to kill him. And Kaladin says, "And this is what you want me to protect you from?" And Dalinar just says, "Yes."
and Kaladin was like, straightforward.
I just like that because Kaladin's asking like, "This is crazy. This is what you want me to do? Are you insane?" And Dalinar, "Yes." And Kaladin's like, "Okay, yeah, all right, I'll do it then, sure." And then like moments later, it's been turned on its head, and now Kaladin is laying down all of his demands. He says that, you know, he and all of the Bridgemen want to not take commands from any of the Light Eyes except for the king, Dalinar, and his sons, right? So he would end up being totally outside the chain of command. Kaladin would effectively be the captain of all like 1,000 of these Bridgemen, which puts him on a level with like Light Eyes of the Fourth Dawn is what he said. I don't quite know how the Dawns work, but
yeah.
And now Kaladin is making these crazy requests, and Dalinar is like, "What? You really want all that? You expect me to give you all that?" And Kaladin's like, "Yes." And then Dalinar's like,
"Yeah, okay.
Well, all right, yeah, sure." And it's like they're both just like so earnest, and they seem to have like such this like bizarre level of respect for each other for two people who just met.
Right.
Like they both, it's like they just get each other, you know?
Yeah,
they're just like leveling.
Yeah, they're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Sure,
and it's just like so cool because like so much of this book so far has been like people saying stuff they don't mean and all this like political intrigue, right? But when these two guys are talking, none of that. Like I feel like I'm just reading like truths straight from Brandon Sanderson when I'm reading dialogue between these two characters. So I love that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so Kaladin kind of gets whatever he wants, and Dalinar's like, you gotta be my bodyguards. And oh man, is it a coincidence that Seth is coming to kill Dalinar right as Kaladin's the one that's gotta protect him? Because I feel like Seth probably knows how to use Stormlight a little better than Kaladin does.
I would say a lot better, yeah. So that's going to be pretty hype. Kaladin goes back to all his bridgemen, and they're all hanging around, still eating soup. Kaladin has like these crazy magic powers, and he's like, "Oh God, that's right. The bridgemen saw me use these. Are they gonna think Are they gonna think I'm weird or whatever? Am I gonna end up being an outcast?
Resent me or worship me?
Yeah. But all the bridgemen are like, "Nah, man, cool, bro, up top.
That's
like,
cool as hell. Teach me how to do that."
I get the feeling that if it were other people, they might have been a little bit surprised. But because it's Kaladin, they're just like, "Oh well, that makes sense." Like if someone was gonna have magic powers, it would probably be Kaladin, right?
Yeah, par for the course at this point.
Sigil.
And they're like, "Can you teach me how to do that?" And he's like, probably not. And they all like kind of sad. And he's like, "But we can try." And they're all like, "Yeah."
Sigil wants like the wiki page on Kaladin's abilities. You know when you have to Google like a league champion to see exactly what the ratio is on their W? Right. That's what Sigil wants for everything Kaladin can do.
The metadata. He wants to know everything.
So they're gonna
and then
start
Rock's
testing
like, we gotta
Kaladin.
throw you off a cliff to figure out what happens. And Kaladin's like, what? And Rock's like, it'll be a small cliff.
Yeah, I'm just imagining all of the tests though. Like they're gonna shoot arrows at this guy. Like Kaladin, they're just gonna throw like a bunch of dangerous stuff at Kaladin and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then at the end, Kaladin's like, you know what? I did it. I finally saved someone. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah. This was a really good...
You can finally accept saving people.
This book was just such a good arc for Kaladin, He went from the rockest of bottoms to the...
highest of heights.
I was trying to think of the word that's the opposite of rock, but that's difficult.
Oh, air.
All right. We go back to Shallan and Yasna talking, and I'm thinking like they're talking about it like the parchment turning aggressive is the desolation, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's more to it than that, right? Because back in Dalinar's vision, we saw he was fighting the Midnight Essence, in that one thing, and there were the giant rock monsters. I think I'm pretty sure that was a thing, right?
I don't know if that was mentioned, but Yasna mentions that in some of the readings and everything, it says that the Parshendi sometimes fight with what are presumed to be the Chasm Fiends, which were drawn as the Voidbringers. It's all a whole confusing...
So I would not be surprised if the Parshmen ended up getting, like, crazy aggressive and, like, wrecking stuff, But I think that, even though it sounds horrible, may kind of be the least of their worries, or at least, like, it's one part of this greater whole that's going to be the climax to this this whole series. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. It'll be like all the Parshmen get crazy aggressive, then the big storm of dust or whatever comes and levels the whole place, and then also the big shell beasts will be destroying stuff, and then Odium will be there zapping people with lightning from the sky.
Yep. And then
it's gonna be a bad time.
Yesna reveals. Wow, that was hard to say. That Cabsol is an assassin from the Ghost Bloods, and he had their symbol tattooed on him. And when she shows it to Shallan, Shallan's like, "Oh no!" And she has a montage flashback of her father's steward having that tattooed on him, and the people who were trying to get him into power had that symbol, and the people who were bugging them to get the Fabrial back had that symbol. And she's like, my dad might have been one of these Ghost Blood folks you're talking about.
Yeah, she was like, my father was in there. Remember that I murdered him? Remember that little bombshell we just glossed over?
Well, she didn't tell Yasna that, though.
Yeah, right. She just, said it in her head. But it's funny, like, it's weird how in sync our notes have been. You mentioned something, and it's, like, literally the exact note I have. Like, well, all right, Sam's hitting all the things. Like, I guess we're good.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Shallan is just super, like, steeped in all this Ghost Blood nonsense, and I am positive that it would come up a lot.
Oh, yeah, surely.
And now Dalinar is having another vision. But it turns out it's one he's already had before.
Wait a minute.
And we're learning some stuff that Dalinar should have remembered this whole time. That would have been very useful knowledge.
Well, he was like, "Oh, but the first visions were so hazy, and I didn't know what was going on." And I was like, "Excuses, Dalinar. You have a responsibility to us.
You have to be lucid at all times, or you're a big joke." Yeah, so Dalinar is in like this crazy weird dreamscape. It's like an infinite white plane with just like abstract shapes appearing in smoke all around. And he's like, wait a minute, I remember this. This was my first vision. He had this one before, but like you said, he didn't remember it.
It's like that SpongeBob where Squidward's in all the white and there's that little square and he picks it up and it fades away.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly what I pictured for this part.
Yeah, so basically he goes through this vision, the guy starts talking at him, and it makes you realize if the vision is repeating, this is clearly just a recording, right?
Right, yeah. And he even says like, oh wait, that's what he said last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all pre-recorded. I was just asking questions and interpreting all of the words they were saying as vague answers to my questions.
Yeah, it was just really unlucky that he asked, should I trust Sadeas? And then the vision happened to say yes. But I think that yes was yes, comma, like starting a sentence, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I was like, yes, oh my gosh, what a bad...
We indeed must do this, yes. You know, it's like that sort of yes. Yeah, so the speaker, the big vision giver, is talking about how he can't see the future. He says, cultivation. She's better at it than I. And cultivation she's got to be one of the shards of Roshar, right?
Yeah,
talking about the big 16, right?
Right, because it's like preservation from the Mistborn series or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Cultivation is a very shard name.
Yeah.
So that makes me think that this speaker must be another shard, also of Roshar, if he's just talking about cultivation, right? In these terms, yeah.
And he was saying that he could look into the future, but the farther away he looks, the more distorted and unsure it'll be, or whatever.
Yeah.
Used like a cracked window metaphor.
He says, look, this is the true desolation. And it's a storm approaching, like a high storm, but instead of storm, it's just dust. And then the earth starts to crumble inwards, and he looks up at the sky, and the stars are winking out, just like in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that this is part of the Kingdom Hearts cinematic universe. This whole series. In the next book, Sora and Donald and Goofy are going to come in and save this planet.
Right. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Man, so Odium is actually Xemnas. It all makes sense.
Or Xehanort.
Xehanort. Yeah. That's
the lore got so bizarre for that game series. I've totally lost track.
Okay, so Xehanort was a guy way back in the day, and he goes into Terra's body and birthed by sleep, and then he dies, and he makes Ansem the Heartless, and he makes Xemnas the Nobody.
Yeah, so there's some line just kind of in passing from this vision deliverer who says, well, if you could get Odium to choose a champion, then you might have a chance.
Right, yeah, but otherwise, you bone.
And it's like, what? Is that a thing? All right, well, that's gotta come up.
Is this...
They got to get him to choose a champion. I don't know how.
Some historic gladiator battle or whatever to determine the fate of the universe.
He says there are rules even he must follow. That sort of thing.
Right. I liked how during this part too, once Dalinar's like, "Oh my gosh, these are all pre-recordings." He doesn't know who I am, and then suddenly he's like, "I don't know who you are. I really don't know. I have no idea. I hope this reaches somebody, but I don't know if it will. I don't know who you are." I'm like, "You could have mentioned that earlier recording. That would have been great."
Yeah, if you can just remember this specific vision, that would be so useful. Yeah. He also mentions the speaker again. Oh, if you had the Dawn shards, that would help. But they don't, right? So it makes me wonder, are the Dawn shards, can those be found? Those have got to still be somewhere in the world, right?
Yeah, you'd think.
And then, finally, the speaker reveals that he is the Almighty, and he's dead.
Right, he is literally God, and he got killed by Odium.
So that's where Dalinar's in an awkward position, right? He's like, so do I tell the church that God is dead? Would that be rude?
Right. Do I they just released that movie God's Not Dead, but I
mean he is though. Yeah,
he is definitely. He told me himself.
That's really awkward. Can you imagine being the only guy who knows for sure that God is dead? Yikes.
Yeah. And then he says the whole Radiance thing. He says life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination. Speak again the ancient oaths and return the men the shards they once bore. The Night's Radiance must stand again,
Yeah. Gotta
And
resurrect
so
the
Dalinar's
rights.
like,
Nice
I don't
movie.
really know what you mean, but I'll do it. I know you can't hear me, but I'll try.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, good job, Dalinar. Way to be a cool dude.
And at that point, we're done with the book. It's on to the epilogue, right?
That's right, yeah.
So we're with Wit, and he's just hanging out with some guards. Back in what's the name of the Alethi capital?
Kharbranth? Is
Alethkar.
that right?
Alethkar.
Alethkar.
He's back in Alethkar, just hanging out with the guards, and he is talking about how odd that they choose, so they deem social status based on eye color, but at least they have a good reason for it. He says something like that.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, oh, is that just because their eyes change light when they have shard blades or something? Is that the good reason?
Right,
or is
yeah.
I don't know.
He was like, I've seen weirder, forms of rule, but this one, I mean, it makes sense when you think about it. I'm just like, I'm thinking about it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Weird, yeah. He's just like hanging out, talking, philosophizing, says the stuff about novelty. It's fun. But then the lore bomb hits us.
Yep.
Because who comes to the gate? Well, it's Talinel Elin from. Hey, remember him from the prologue?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the herald who was betrayed by the other 9. He was left behind. He was sent back to the horrible torture zone.
Yeah.
And when he knocks on the gate, Hoyd knows who he is in advance. He says, "Welcome, lost one." He knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, because Hoyd knows everything.
Yep. Taln, let's see. It says he has dark brown eyes, even though he's holding a shard blade. So, and the one he's holding has got to be one of the Dawn shards, right? It's still probably his sword from way back.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess those
and it's like
those don't change eye color. I guess his eye color stays the same, even though he's holding it.
So he cuts through the gates and he stumbles in and he's like, "The Everstorm's coming, the last desolation's here," and then he just falls dead or whatever.
Yeah, go, run, raise the call, give the warning. He calls himself, "I am Talinel Elin, Stone Sinew, Herald of the Almighty. The desolation has come. Oh God, it has come. I have failed." He collapses. He drops his shard blade. The shard blade does not vanish, which is another interesting property of the Dawn shards, I guess.
Yep.
But I guess we already knew that because they stabbed him into the ground. And yeah.
And then Hoyd's like, "Oh, buddy, I think you're just a little bit late."
Yep. And then we get even another little. It was like an afterword or whatever.
Oh, was there?
Which was about silence above and below. So, if you read actually the title of each part of the book, it lines up.
Oh, there's an end note.
It ends up with the little poem in the end note.
Oh yeah, I didn't read that. I just now noticed that was a thing. It was on the next page.
Silence above the illuminating storms.
Above silence, the illuminating storms, dying storms illuminate the silence above.
So this is another one of those symmetrical things, which means that it has, significance in Vorin culture. And it's also in 5 parts, and also it just so happens that let me read to you the title of each part of the book. Above silence, the illuminating storms, dying, storms illumination, the silence above.
Yeah.
That was the title of each part of the book we just read.
Oh.
So yeah, so it was symmetrical the whole time. Sanderson was pulling a sneaky on us.
Yeah.
And this
That's funny.
This was recorded. This is another death rattle that was recorded back in Taravangian's murder hospital. And the note left on this one at the end was, "We leave it to His Majesty's mind on a strong day."
Yeah.
On a strong day.
Puzzle out the meaning of why the storms might be important and what the poem may mean.
Now, what this makes...
Oh, yeah, I didn't even read this till now.
We leave it to His Majesty's mind on a strong day. This implies that he has strong days and weak days, yeah? So maybe when he looked like a dopey sultan, weekday, when he confronts Zeth and he seems like a total wizard genius, strong day, right?
Sure.
But what is he just in poor health? But what health
Right.
what health thingy, badness, I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for? Affliction.
I don't know. Okay.
Would cause such a back and forth from day to day. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like the
maybe it's based on the tides or the phase of the moon or something.
Right, he's a werewolf.
He's a were scholar.
Aware Wiseman. Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep referencing Mistborn, and I realize that is probably a thing I shouldn't do. But it reminds me of in Mistborn, like the what's his name, the Lord Emperor or whatever his name is,
Oh
the
yeah.
big bad guy in the first book. He sometimes he's an old man and sometimes he looks like he's 30 or whatever.
Hmm.
It's kind of like that in a way,
Yeah.
where he has it shifts for some reason that we'll find out in book 6 or whatever.
Yeah. Oh man, though, I am so excited to keep reading this book or this series. I guess.
Yeah.
I cannot
Yeah, me
wait
too.
for the fourth book to come out in November.
Yeah, because then we'll both be clueless on what's happening.
Yes, yeah, I won't have to
be
live a
fun.
lie anymore. I'll just be able to genuinely say whatever comes to mind. Oh, it'll be so cool.
Right. Yeah. So for the next book, how are we gonna parse that out?
Well, we were talking about
So you
maybe
and I discussed longer reading segments.
we were talking about that. Do you want to do that or nah?
Maybe. Well, here, let me grab it just for the visual aspect because it's right over here.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here.
Words of Radiance.
All right. So Words of Radiance. Right now, I have broken up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 parts.
And how many was
if
what we just did?
This one was like 13 parts, maybe.
Okay. It looks like Words of Radiance is like a teensy bit longer.
This
Well,
one,
let me- I can just look
what we
the
just did was
pages.
12 parts.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yep,
we could.
and this one is like 100 pages more or something. Not even, like 50.
Yeah, I don't know. We could probably cut out like a couple of parts if we wanted to. For some of them,
Yeah,
it might be
what?
hard though because, like, let's say part 5, for example. I currently have that divided up over 2 weeks. So what's the alternative, right? We put it all in 1 week. That might be a lot.
Right, it's hard. Because it's like, do we decide, okay, we're going to cut out 4 parts, and then we just pick and choose when that happens, or...
Yeah, I don't know. How much time do we have before the? Let's count how many weeks are left. 1, 2, 3,
Oh, sure.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 26. We got like 27 weeks left. Let's just keep it how it is. Because if we do this
that's
over
fine.
12 weeks and then the next one over like 13 weeks, we can even fit in Edge Dancer, which is the kind of short story,
yeah, that's right.
it's like book 2.5, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we can slot that in there. I think we'll have time for everything. So let's just keep it how it is.
Sure.
Yeah. So before we get to how many words we're reading in this next one, though. What do you think of the whole first book? I mean, we just finished the whole freaking thing, didn't we?
Yeah. Right, yeah, oh. Good. I mean, I've read, you've read, like, everything Sanderson has ever written.
More or less.
The first Mistborn trilogy, and Elantris, and whatever that other one is, Warbreaker.
Warbreaker.
Yeah, the one that happens by itself. But yeah, it was interesting because this was the best, I think. I like this one the best by far, but it was interesting that the magic wasn't tied in nearly as much as it has been in the other ones.
Yeah.
It was to see Brandon Sanderson work with just like normal fantasy plot, elements. Like, sure, there's some big scary creatures, the Chasm Fiends, and some like fun stuff like the Shard blades and armor, but otherwise it was like
and the freaking what's her name, the Night Watcher or whatever, who gives people weird trades. That's one of my favorite elements in the thing so far. Honestly, I really like that
really?
where like characters just go make these weird supernatural exchanges with this with this super powerful Spren or whatever. I kind of dig that.
Yeah, it was like I like how it's also character driven.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously there's a grand overarching plot, but I really cared about isn't exactly the term, but I had a stake in like what every character was doing, whether or not I actually liked them. So Shallan, I was like, oh, I don't necessarily agree, but I want to know what happens to her. And Dalinar, I'm like, coolest character ever, like,
yeah.
I hope he gets every great thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool to have a story where you're so invested in the characters, and there's this, grand overarching plot that we've only gotten, little, like, baby steps into.
Yeah.
1/10 of the whole series.
Yeah, I cannot wait to keep reading.
Yeah, my favorite thing because fantasy is probably my favorite genre to read, and I like just it sounds, I don't know, cheesy, I guess, but I love the fact that it's literally like an epic. It takes so many years to get through the thing, and it's this grand story with like so many little puzzle pieces, and it all is revealed before your eyes in each book, and you just get little strings as you go along. I don't know. That's like my favorite type of storytelling, I guess. So.
Yeah. And Brandon Sanderson is just such a genius about it. Like, because another example of a really long epic fantasy series is Wheel of Time, right?
Right.
But
that's like
Wheel of Time,
the standard almost.
It felt like at times reading it, there were almost entire books where it felt like the series was kind of losing its way. It was kind of losing purpose and direction and just meandering along. And that just doesn't happen with Brandon Sanderson, Like he has this like clear, purposeful outline. My guess is he had like the whole series outlined before he even started book one, probably.
Oh, he has to have, yeah.
And you can tell it shows, And
right.
I love it so much.
Yeah, I like that he's so, because I don't know, I feel like my favorite part of any story, at least stories like this, is like what is the overarching like plot? What is the big grand cool conflict or whatever?
Yeah.
And Brandon Sanderson seems like plot driven almost to a fault, but he doesn't let that bog him down, losing like the interest in the story. And so I like that he has, even with like his magic systems, he always has like rules, and he knows exactly where things are going and exactly how everything works. Whereas, and I'm not criticizing other stories by any means, but like Wheel of Time or like, I don't know, Lord of the Rings or something is a little bit more like mystical, like it's not as clear cut, it's not as logical necessarily.
Sure.
And so this is more just like pedal to the metal, I got a story to tell, everything makes sense, it's all very logical, all the puzzle pieces fit together, it's super cool.
Well, I mean, and there's something to be said for those, there's media like this, especially older media, I think, like for example, the film Bambi, right? Didn't really have a plot per se. Or like the movie. I really enjoyed the movie back in the day. It was called Fantasia 2000.
Yeah.
You know that one? Literally doesn't have a plot. Literally just you're just watching it.
Bright colors and music.
It's just like a thing that's nice to watch, And
it's good stimulus.
It's like whoever created this, they weren't worried about telling a story. They were just making art. They were making stuff that's nice to experience, that's nice, media that's nice to consume. Studio Ghibli kind of does this, right? In Studio Ghibli, like, you could summarize most Studio Ghibli stories, I would say, in like minutes, right? Very, very easy to like basically describe the entire story to somebody. But then the movies just really take their time with like all of this fun, like, mystical world building, like all this fun stuff, right? And Brandon Sanderson is not like that, but honestly I prefer Brandon Sanderson's way. Like, if I had to choose between only getting the fun, take your time media or the purposeful, like, super, super intense media for the rest of my life, I'll take Brandon Sanderson.
I don't know if I could commit to that choice, but I would certainly lean that way.
That's just my preference. It's my preference,
Right. No, I think it is. I think it would be mine if I was given enough time to decide. But I mean, it's even like we've discussed this on and off during this, but Brandon Sanderson has a few essays on his blog about creating a magic system, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's you can kind of extrapolate from that sort of how he concocts his stories a little bit.
Sure.
Because he mentions he was at a panel at some convention about magic systems, and he was all excited. He had a bunch of notes, And so the first question was like, where do you start? How do you like start thinking of a magic system? And Brandon Sanderson was like, well, first things first, it's got to have concrete rules. And everybody else on the panel was like, what? But then you take away the fun, mystical part of it. And he's like, oh, geez, I didn't even think about that. Like, that's a whole different like type of thing. And so yeah, those are a good read. I would suggest looking into those as well. That's a fun insight into just his whole approach, I think, to storytelling.
Yeah, I've never really watched any of his lectures or anything,
Yeah, no, I'm more
Like
interested
he
to
has a
see because
YouTube channel that's got some stuff. He does Q&As like pretty regularly, just like people sending questions,
yeah.
and just while he's signing books, he's just like someone's reading them off to him, and he's just answering questions, just like very very taking his time, kind of very free form about it.
Yeah,
And
that
like
sounds super fun.
I don't watch them. I watched like part of one, like 5 or 10 minutes of one, and I was like, this is kind of boring.
Sure, yeah. I guess if it's not the question you're thinking of, you're like, well, whatever. That's not
Yeah.
that interesting to me.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. It's because like I mean, I haven't written very much stuff, but I feel like if I were to write, like a book or something, I would probably be more of the other category, just because I'm more. I think more as a writer, I'm concerned about like the fun, not like philosophical, but the artsiness of it, rather than the logic-y. Here's a story. Here's all the fun. Like I like
Oh,
consuming that, but I
sure.
don't know if I would be as good at that.
Yeah, yeah. I feel
At the end of the
like,
day.
yeah, that would be tough for me.
Yeah.
It's like I think it kind of maybe it comes out a little bit in the way you play Minecraft as well. Are you the sort of person
Yeah.
where everything you build has a purpose, or do you just decide like I'm gonna build a big effing Greek temple or something? I don't know, and you just
Oh,
and you just
I'm 100% the second type.
oh, all right. Well, there you go. That explains
Yeah.
because my stuff in Minecraft almost always has a purpose. Like I'll,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
I'll have a purpose for something first, and then I'll be like, okay, how can I make this look good after I've decided on its purpose, right? Yeah. All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Really good at writing like Brandon Sanderson. Tim. Our friend Tim. Because he goes into Minecraft and creates the coolest functional secret bases and everything, and
Yeah.
like everything is perfectly built. But I go on a server and I build like a somewhat scale model of Chichen Itza, and I call it Chicken Itza, and there's a god Quetzalcoatl at the top, and it's like just a goofy fun thing to do. Or
All
whatever.
right, we got to get Brandon Sanderson onto a Minecraft server. Stat.
Right.
That's top priority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
All
gotta
right.
see what he thinks is fun.
We're coming up on just under an hour here, which I think is a pretty good length. I like to keep them just
Yep.
under an hour. So let's go ahead. Before next week, we gotta read the first part of the next book.
Oh boy.
I need you,
so
John,
where are we going to?
read right from the start, right from the prologue, up through the end of chapter 4.
Chapter 4. Okay, dokie.
Yeah, chapter 4 of Words of Radiance, the second
Words
book
of
in
Radiance.
the Stormlight Archives.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to start a new Google sheet. How exciting.
I start a new Google sheet for every single reading, and I don't title any of them. All of them are named Untitled Document.
You're a terrible person.
Like, if I wanted to go through and find all of my notes for this series up to this point, it would take hours. It would take a really long time.
I've done this weird thing where like I always put the newest section above the section before that. So it's
sure.
like 74 through 79, 63 through 70 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so if I were ever to go back and read it, I would have to start at the bottom and go like and it wouldn't make any sense. So I don't know. My system's not really better, but it does take up less space. I don't know.
It doesn't take up less space, but
Not less computer space,
Yeah.
but less real estate of your Google Drive or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. All right.
Man, and you know what, John? We've been ending all of our videos at this point where we do like a fun little bit at the end. Kind of want to stop doing that. Dunno.
All right. I don't really care. I was doing it because we kept doing it, and I was like, well, this is the thing we do.
Yeah. So I mean, let's just end it there.
Let's just
Actually, I
call
want to
it a
end it
day.
with a question. What should I put up on this green screen behind me for this video? If you're listening to the podcast, do not sweat it.
Yeah, don't even worry about it. I don't know. Just you could put like the cover of the book or some generic fantasy. You could put a map of the Shattered Plains or something.
I could play the film
B movie.
back there. Yeah,
Yeah.
through the whole video. That'd be good.
Just silently.
That'd be
Yeah.
good.
It would be one of those old-timey projectors and just put it so it's also playing on your face so we don't miss the part that your body is taking up.
Huh, okay, sure.
I'm thinking maybe we change the entire idea of this book club.
To just be B-movie themed.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Alright, well,
We'll parse it out.
Baller. Hey, I'll see you next week.
Hey, see you later.
Thanks for watching / listening, dudes.
Hey, thanks.